Hey, JK here. I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 10 days away from opening day, and that means we have two divisions left. We're going to be starting to talk about the AL East today. I'm so excited to talk about my Yankees, but of course we have to hit on the other teams first. First team we're talking about is the 5th place team, Toronto Blue Jays. So we're going north of the border to get a 74-88 record. Definitely a down year for a very young at the plate team, old on the mound team. The new guys are keeping the old guys on their toes, just like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was keeping all the fans in Toronto on their feet the entire year. He led the team in everything except triples and strikeouts, which was Dalton Varsho, and stolen bases, which is George Springer. After two suboptimal years from Vladimir Guerrero Jr., which in those 2 years still would have led multiple other teams in multiple categories, he caught fire in 2024 and did not look back. In fact, he surpassed his previous best year in 2021 in few categories, including hits, walks, and average. He also reduced the number of strikeouts in just as many, if not more, games, so no surprise. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is good. Unfortunately, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. had little to no help from his supporting staff. George Springer and Dalton Varsho both absolutely fell off the face of the earth. George Springer hit some of the lowest numbers since 2021 when he was on the IL 3 different times. Now, he did contribute with walks in 60, and he also did lead the team in stolen bases with 16. The issue with George Springer is he's just getting old. The fact that he's still producing at the plate with the walks and still contributing with stolen bases means he is still giving it all he can. He still does have some left in the tank, but he's no longer the leadoff hitter for the cheating Astros. He's no longer the leadoff hitter for the Blue Jays, but he might be splitting time with Bo Bichette as leadoff hitter and cleanup hitter, which would absolutely give him the opportunity to, in my opinion, take a little pressure off. Now, instead of being the first guy at the plate, being the first guy to have to get on base to set the table, he can be the cleanup guy. Yes, there are some other options in this lineup, especially with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but more so with Anthony Santander, or Santander, that's how I say it. But George Springer could have the opportunity to move back to a cleanup spot, maybe 5th, and have a little less pressure on him than being the guy to get on base and set the table for the rest of the team. We also did talk about Dalton Varsho. This man has done nothing but fall off year after year after year. His rookie year in 2021, he produced at such a high clip. We were all very impressed, and we all wanted pieces of him in fantasy. He was supposed to be the offensive catcher who could steal bases, who had a good eye at the plate, who was going to do big things. However, that is not the case. Not only did he lose catcher eligibility, but he lost points with his batting average. He's lost number of home runs, and he's lost stolen bases. So many other outfielders can hit above the Mendoza line. Many other outfielders can also give you at least 10 home runs, and there are quite a few outfielders that can give you at least 10 stolen bases. So, Dalton Varsho, there's nothing special about you, buddy. I hate to say it, especially when you strike out 135 times at least for the last 3 years. To add to the disappointment, we're going to talk about Bo Bichette. He does also come from lineage of former baseball players, and he's not really living up to it, or at least he didn't in 2024. Previous to this, he was averaging 20 plus home runs, 30 plus doubles every year, at least 70 RBIs, and a 290 batting average. However, injuries struck in 2024. At least 4 times he went to the IL. Oh, those injuries, you're looking at 4 home runs, 30 RBIs, 16 doubles, and a 225 batting average. Now, he's absolutely looking to get back to those pre-2024 numbers and get back to his magical shortstop, undeniable, flowing locks type of guy. The Blue Jays definitely want that, and he's going to have a little more protection at the plate, only because he now has the opportunity to hit leadoff or bat cleanup. Speaking of guys who can help throughout the lineup, Alejandro Kirk is absolutely one of those guys who has patience at the plate. And as a catcher, he finally is able to understand this is a ball, this is a strike. Because in 2022, he actually did put up V-Mart type numbers. He had more walks than strikeouts. He's only struck out upwards to 58 times at most in his very short career. But still, he is able to walk and he's able to limit strikeouts. So even his outs are productive outs because he's able to get someone in scoring position or bring someone around to score. So Alejandro Kirk will be the workhorse with Danny Jansen leaving. He is now going to be looking at that 139 game previous career high, potentially in the rearview mirror because he's going to surpass that. Now, these starts could obviously come behind the plate, but could get a little bit of relief at the DH position. Likely going to be behind the plate, though. Kirk is absolutely one of those guys who's going to benefit from the guys in front of him being very dangerous and looking to get walks so that he comes to the plate with maybe 2 guys on base already. So there we go. That's already someone in scoring position, bringing around a run, again, even if it's a productive out. As we get to the old head pitchers, we're going to talk about Jose Barrios, who led the team in everything except losses and strikeouts, which that was Chris Bassett. Holds leader was Genesis Cabrera, and the saves leader was absolutely Chad Green, not Jordan Romano. This pitching staff is old. The top 4 are 30 or above. The oldest one is 36. That age absolutely showed. 3 of the 4 had 11 or more losses this year. But not so fast. Those same 3 guys all had at least 153 strikeouts and at least 171 innings pitched, resulting in at least 10 wins for all of them, which likely came from all of them having at least 12 quality starts. And that's where the experience and the age and the ability to work around hitters comes with the years in the MLB, years at the major league level, and understanding the game. So yes, they're old. Yes, their ERAs and whips are going to be a little higher. Yes, they're going to lose a little bit of velocity, but they're going to be able to be workhorses. They're going to know how to properly take care of their body, how to keep their teams in the game as best as they can, but they also know how to work the hitters. They're going to make their pitches count for the most part. Yes, there are some throwaways. Chris Bassett, looking at you, man. Your numbers were awful. They were. You had a 1.4 whip. What were you doing? As we transition to the youngsters in this lineup, we're going to talk about Yariel Rodriguez and also Bowden Francis. Now, these 2 worked in tandem together, one as a starter, one as a secondary guy, swingman, however you want to call it. Usually, Yariel started the game and Bowden Francis came in, which absolutely helped me in my leagues where I had capped starts. So thank you, Bowden Francis, for the little bit of time you did that. Now, at first, Bowden Francis didn't have it. He was in the major league level, had to go to the minors, had to figure stuff out mechanically, had to add a whole nother pitch. Then he came back. There's a 10-game stretch later in the season. He had a sub-2 ERA, struck out 58 batters, and that helped him accumulate a 3.3 ERA and a sub-1 whip for the entire year. Now, Francis is hoping that 2025 he gets to start more than the 13 games he did in 2024. He's looking to increase these numbers, make sure his ERA goes down, a whip stays where it is, get more strikeouts. He's not really a big strikeout pitcher, but if you're not allowing hits, doesn't matter. We touched on the old heads who are the pitching rotation, touched on the new guy who's looking to make his stance, and now we're going to move to the bullpen. And as usual, I love talking about the bullpen, but this one was bad. It was bad. There was one guy who had a sub-3 ERA and a sub-1 whip. That was Yimi Garcia. He should be in the mix for the 9th inning and should have been in the mix for the 9th inning last year. He did end up with 5 saves and 10 holds. As for the rest of the bullpen, there were 5 guys who had ERAs above 4, and there was one guy who had an ERA of 8. One of the guys with a 4+ ERA was actually Jordan Romano, who had a 5.6 ERA. That's pretty awful. Now, he did have elbow and shoulder injuries last year, and he did have sit out most of the year. He did only have 15 appearances. He had 8 saves, but yeah, the whip and the ERA were not sexy. Romano is no longer with the Blue Jays, as them and the Phillies essentially just changed bullpen guys. Jeff Hoffman is now the incoming 9th inning guy for the Jays, and there are some guys who are going to be fighting for that position. Chad Green was a leader in saves last year with 17, did have a 3 ERA and a 1.03 whip, so he absolutely did his part. Yes, he is over the hill a little bit, but he is going to be someone who's going to be fighting off Jeff Hoffman for the 9th inning duties, along with Yimi Garcia. But there are some other very strong individuals in this bullpen they brought in. As we've already touched on newcomer Jeff Hoffman from the Phillies, Nick Sandlin is coming over from the Indians, and he had a 3 ERA with a nice-looking whip. More strikeouts than innings pitched last year, so he is another strong point in this bridge to get to the closer, whoever that's going to be. Some of the other ads did include, of course, Mad Max. We're going to be looking to see if he is Mad Max or Maimed Max this upcoming year, as are the Blue Jay fans. Some of the offensive weapons the Blue Jays brought in include Anthony Santander and Andres Jimenez, again from the Indians. Santander is coming off a career year with the Orioles. Now, I'm not fully convinced that he's going to repeat what he did last year, but He's also leaving an opportunity with Walls coming in Baltimore to repeat. But now he's going to the Rogers Center, and he probably won't hit as many home runs, but he'll still produce at a high clip, especially with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. protecting him in that lineup. Andres Gimenez is also a fantastic ad for these Blue Jays. He's going to be able to fill that second base position. He's going to be able to steal some bases, and he's going to be able to make smart plays in the field, but also at the plate, because he's an all-around complete player. As we get to the losses for this team, the biggest one, in my opinion, Spencer Horwitz. This guy started mainly at first towards the end of the season. He also has second eligibility. He is one of the top prospects for this team as he has moved up. He was going to be making big plays in the Rogers Center. Now he's going to be going to PNC Park playing for the Pirates. He is going to start the season on the IL. He's going to do well. Still very young and going to be hitting in a lineup that has some other young talent. I think that's really going to hurt the Blue Jays because they are old. They're getting old in the field. They're getting old at the plate. They're getting old in the pitching. So they have to get some younger players, and they got rid of one of them. And the other biggest loss for this Blue Jays team is Danny Jensen. May not seem like a huge deal. However, him and Alejandro Kirk did split time, either at catcher and or at DH. So it's going to be important for Alejandro Kirk to stay safe behind the plate, stay healthy behind the plate. He's going to be the guy. So he's probably got a lot of pride, and he's going to want to stay in as long as he can. But again, that's a very demanding position. We see how it has taken a toll on some of the greatest that have played the game. But Alejandro Kirk's still pretty young. He'll be able to take it at least for a few years. I'm really hoping that this lineup helps him more than they helped Vladimir Guerrero Jr. last year. The last big loss for them is Jordan Romano. I don't think that's any surprise. He was a closer for the Blue Jays and did great work for several years. But injuries caught up to him. He wasn't able to compete at the highest level in 2024, and that ended up with him getting traded. The Blue Jays did get Jeff Hoffman. He'll be the guy. But again, there are several other guys in the bullpen that not only make it stronger, but are going to fight him to try to see if he really is the best guy for the ninth. At the end of 2025, I think this is going to be a sub-500 team. The pitching has shown kinks in the armor. The hitting might be able to keep him in most games, but you're not going to hit home runs every single game, or at least Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is not going to hit home runs every single game. It's going to be important for Santander to repeat what he did last year if these Blue Jays want to compete. It's going to be important for Andres Gimenez to be a base stealer. It's going to be very, very important for the bullpen to stay healthy and get those wins when they're in close games. Tomorrow we're going to be heading to Tampa Bay to talk about the Rays, and I really wish they'd bring their old uniforms back. That purple with the green and orange looked awesome. This is JK. I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me.